Wow, now that was a mellow countdown, wasn't it? I'm thinking maybe that's not a good one for for this type of presentation. A little bit more high energy. I'm gonna better choose for next time as well. So welcome to my Business Acceleration Digital Roadmap Strategy Sprint for today, and I really appreciate you coming. If you're watching this live, please drop in your questions. If you're watching in replay, please hashtag replay and any questions as well. And at the end of the day, take a look at the comments, and there's some places you can go to be able to download some of the notes and that sort of thing. And you can start by going to bit.ly/businessgps. So my name is Joel Bueller, and this is my digital strategy sprint for today. And I want to be able to talk about what I call the business GPS, or the business growth pathway strategy. And when you really think about it, why haven't we had a GPS for our businesses, right? We just kind of expect to go in the right direction and in the right places and go right along the right ways. And yes, you have business plans and that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, those are important. But what's really important is, how do we actually navigate in the short term from point A to point B to point C and that sort of thing. So that's really what's fundamentally important, is how can we actually do this, and what tools can we bring, what strategies can we bring, and how can we kind of bring all these pieces together as well. So I'm going to quickly jump into just going to want to sketch quickly. And again, I'm not going to be too long, but I want to be able to show some of the key ingredients here. And thank you. Last week I had one of my viewers had pointed out that when I put the bar across the bottom, it actually blocks out some of the visuals as well. So I'm going to make sure that I hide that now. So all right. So if you want to take the business GPS scorecard within the next 24 hours, I've got some gifts as well that I'll be able to provide to you as well. So go to bit.ly/business GPS, and GPS is uppercase as well. Bitly is a little bit finicky in that regard. So please ask your questions, and let's get started. So, fundamentally, where do we start? We start with kind of the stuff that seems to be getting in our way. And actually, where I want to start typically is taking a look at, because this is the shape of the future. This is the triangle, right? And a lot of us know this as the symbol of change. This is the delta, and I'm not talking the delta virus. I'm talking change, right? And so if we look at the structure of change, it's fundamentally in this triangle shape. And I've actually been fascinated by that whole concept, and I've created this whole ecosystem of how do we actually define change, and how do we actually increase those levels of change. And those are some of my other sprints that I go through as well, or stick around for next week's sprint when I will be going through that in detail for the change as well. But for today's sprint, I want to take a look at how do we actually use this. Like, okay, great, a triangle, Doyle, thank you very much. But how do we actually use this to be able to move our business forward, and to be able to understand how all these pieces interact and fit together and that sort of thing. So I wanted to say, well, where do we start? Let's start in the middle, okay? What is it that ultimately we want, right? What is it that we really want to be able to do? And for a lot of us, it's business, it's growth. Okay, it's a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But let's say we want to grow the business. We want to kind of overcome where we are. We want to look at actually make this a little bit better. How do we make it easier? How do we grow the business and that sort of thing? So fundamentally, we want to be able to say, let's grow this business. Now, there are a lot of things that obviously are pushing back against us. Okay, if it was that easy, let's be realistic, everybody would be doing it. So it's important that we understand what is actually pushing us back, and it comes down to three specific things here. The first one is being fractured, and what that actually looks like is disorganized, directionless, some confusion, and some overwhelm. Let's see if we can fit it all in there. There we go. So these are really important, because they're kind of it's creating this environment that says, well, it's a little bit broken, and it's not very streamlined. It's not very smooth as well. So fractured is a key ingredient here to be able to look at as well. So one of the things that's pushing back on us, okay, and the next thing that's pushing back on us is feeling fragmented. And what exactly does that look like? What is it? This is being, uninspiring. This is being little impact, and little traction. So we're not feeling that we're all kind of cohesive, that we're not all getting things together and that sort of thing. So again, fractured and fragmented is one of the things that's pushing back against us as we get into what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. And then the last one is friction. And I think everybody's familiar with friction, right? It's that constant tug that's pulling you backwards when you're trying to go forward. So we really want to reduce that friction as well. And what does that look like? Well, that's looks like wasting time, wasting resources, and the big one, wasting the dollars as well. And it can also look like no trust and no loyalty as well. So customers come, it might be quite transactional. It's very immediate, and that's it, and they're done and they're gone as well. So those, we want to look at how do we actually oppose friction into this playing field to be able to do that. So we've got three issues, right? Being fractured, being fragmented, and being friction. And all of these are pushing against us to be able to grow the business, to be able to understand what pieces do we need to put in place, what strategies do we need to put in place as well. So it's really important that we look at those for what they are and how are we going to overcome that. And it comes down fundamentally quite simply. If we want to look at growth, we need what's called a growth pathway strategy, right? Just getting up today and saying we want to go and grow the business, we want to get more customers, we want to get more sales, it's not going to cut it, right? We really need a strategy to do repeatedly and every day and continuously as well. So we need to be able to understand how these pieces fit together. But this is fundamentally the GPS. And that allows us to be able to understand, okay, well, what pieces do I need? If, for example, and this is going to take some time too, if I said, for example, we want to go to Mount Everest on an expedition, you've been invited, right? On an expedition to go to Mount Everest, right? Would you say yes? Probably not. And the reason is not because you necessarily wouldn't want to. And yeah, okay, some people don't necessarily want to, and that's okay. But what I'm talking about is people who would say, "Wow, that would be really fun, or really interesting, or really test my abilities." Is the ability to is for those people to say, "I'm not really ready. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what I need. I don't know, the strategies to survive. I don't know the strategies to get there and get back and that sort of thing." So it becomes, excuse me, an issue of we're not quite ready yet, and we have to realize that if we plan and prepare, we can get there as well. So that's really very important. So how do we push back on being fractured? We do that by what I call persuasive positioning. Persuasive positioning. And this allows us to be able to be capable, to be able to create and capture new demand as well, and to be able to do that in a manner that's part of the business and how we're actually able to do that. And if we break this down a little bit further, I'm going to kind of go show you how it all fits together. But if we break this down further, we can actually do that. I'll just put it here in three simple steps. This is the journey of transformation, an amazing journey of transformation. I need to be clear there. The second way we can do that is by creating what I call irresistible value and monetization. I might have to expand this a bit. My writing. Irresistible value and monetization And then the third way we do that is by unlocking your zone of genius, unlocking genius and expertise. And we really need to align all these pieces together so that we can create this persuasive positioning, which is really, really key here. Now, the second step is what I call tenacious targeting. How do we overcome the friction side of it? With tenacious targeting. And I'm going to see if I can draw this to fit it all in. Tenacious targeting. And this is really defining who our customer is, where they are, how they're doing, what we're able to do to interact with them as well. And guess what? There's 3 steps for that as well. So the 4th step is data, magnetic. I call it magnetic measurement. Magnetic measurement. But this is data. We need to be able to get deep into, what exactly is our customer doing? What is our audience doing? How are they doing it? And that sort of thing. And then we want to take a look at what does our tech stack look like, our digital toolkit. Because we need to have the right tools at the right time, but we also have to understand that we don't need all these tools all the time, right? If we're an electrician, we need electrician tools. And if we're a plumber, we need plumbing tools, right? So we have to be careful in terms of what do we actually use. We don't need everything. A lot of times we're sold on specific things that we need or should use or whatever, but we don't necessarily have that specific tool need for what we want to accomplish as well. So that's our digital toolkit. And of course, our tech stack. And to me, being digital for like almost 20 years, having a proper tech stack is so critical to that overall success in terms of, okay, well, how are these pieces put together? What is it that we're actually trying to accomplish here? And how are we going to get business done as well? And then the 6th step is automations and that sort of thing, so that we're able to streamlining. We're able to make things a little bit easier for the business so that we don't necessarily have to manage at such a minutia level. So we're able to actually see what it is that's important here and how we are able to do that. And that comes down to some automations, some AI, some streamlining. Again, it's related to how do we actually create this tenacious targeting? How do we actually find our perfect customer for what we're doing and how we're doing it and that sort of thing, so that it allows us to be able to, find them. Because if we can't find them, guess what? We're not much is going to happen. So that's the second step. And then if we take a look at the final step as well, let's see how I can draw this. And this is basically what I call connected and craving clients. So what do we have here? What's the issue here? What's holding us back? It was called fragmented, and that's pushing us back, right? That makes us feel like it's uninspiring. There's little impact, there's little traction and that sort of thing. So it's really important that we kind of overcome that. We need to get to that sense that we're quite organized and that we're able to produce that, our product and our services and that sort of thing. And so how do we actually do that? Well, if we continue the step-by-step process that we're talking about, I'm going to start over here, see if that works. This is really key, and this is what I call immersive and enchanting digital experiences. And digital is not just websites, and it's not just landing pages and funnels. It's that whole experience that you're able to provide, that you're able to deliver to your audience consistently, creatively, constantly, and that sort of thing. So it's about creating that experience that people will able to be engaged in. It's not just about wearing, AR goggles and that sort of thing. You can do an awful lot with the tools that you have with obviously online, with websites and that sort of thing. But you need to look at how do you transform that journey that we spoke of earlier into something that your customer can use predictably as well. So we want to be able to create an immersive and enchanting digital experience as well. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we have our digital assets lined up. And these can be video, this can be content, this can be the things that allow you to connect with your audience. An asset is something tangible. So it can be like an app, it can be a microsite, it could be a platform, it can be a specific digital tool or a creation or something that allows your customer to partake in that experience as well. So it's really, really important that we create tantalizing digital assets. Tantalizing digital assets. And the last step that we need to look at is creating an alluring, inviting, and engaging environment. Now, what this allows us to do, again, is to transform that journey, is to transform that experience. It's to transform the way that we're able to do that for our audience, so that they see that, hey, this is a really cool environment. I'm enjoying myself. I'm going to spend more time with you. I'm going to spend more time in your in your ecosystem, so that I can get to where I want to go. I'm on a journey. You're taking me through this transformational journey. This is the place that we're able to connect and be able to see that as well as we get into it. So pretty easy. If we want a growth pathway strategy to overcome fractured, friction, and fragmented, what do we need? We need persuasive positioning. We need tenacious targeting, and we need, where is it buried in there? Where did I put it? Connected and craving clients. I didn't actually write it down. Let's try that again. Connected clients. There we go. All right. It's all there. A little bit messy, but okay. So what do we do when we have that? It's like, okay, yeah, great, cool. It's a nice little diagram. But what next? So what we can actually do, and the really fantastic part, is we can actually, if you saw earlier, let's just start here. We can take each of those elements, 1, 2, 3. This was our persuasive positioning. And then we take another arm, 4, 5, 6, and that was our tenacious targeting. And then if we take our, running out of space here, connected and craving clients, 7, 7, 8, 9. What do we have? Right? So we go around, we go through each of these specific steps to be able to provide that. We then unroll this triangle, right? We take the triangle, we go side 1, side 2, side 3. This has now become side 1, side 2, and side 3. And what have we done? We've created an actual roadmap. So if we outline all these different steps, we're actually able to understand these are the steps that I need to take to build my business GPS. And that's actually how you do it, is you take the understanding of how do we build that growth pathway strategy through persuasive positioning, tenacious targeting, and connected and craving clients. We unroll these specific activities to be able to say these are the 9 elements of each different process that we're able to do. These are the 9 steps in our roadmap. And that gives us our roadmap. And yeah, it might not go in a straight line. Straight lines aren't always best. It might give us a little bit of a growth curve, but guess what? We're going up in that direction. We're not flatlining. We're not going through, nothing. We're not just kind of existing. But guess what? This is where that delta comes back. Why are we able to do that? Why are we able to progress in that manner? Because we've decided we want to be able to make some changes. And there's some cool little things that I'll talk about in the next sprint that talks about how do we actually move these different levels of change, right? Through our delta as well. All right, cool. So that's all I want to talk about. Basically taking that let's build a GPS for our business so that we can understand where we want to go, what strategies and tactics and tools do we need, and then how do we actually do that throughout by those 3 specific steps: persuasive positioning, tenacious targeting, and connected and craving clients. And that actually creates our ultimate roadmap. And again, it might not look completely straight, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be straight. We want to go from A to B, and these are the steps that we need to take. Easy, right? And of course, what strategy without execution? So that's where we talk about further in terms of what it is that we need to be able to do as well. So a quick look if you go to, you can actually see some of the elements of what a business GPS needs. A business GPS. This is our growth pathway strategy. And the interesting thing about having a GPS, I mean, we've all used them, we've all had them, and they've all become kind of integrated. When you first start going to a destination, to a specific point, for your business, yeah, you need something, you need some direction, you need some strategies, you need some tactics and that sort of thing. But guess what? After you've done it a few times, it's like, do you need your GPS every single time? No, you don't. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to create that structure, to say, hey, we need to be able to create that little roadmap to where we want to go, how we want to get there. And then once we kind of know intuitively what it is that we're using, guess what? It's not as difficult. So back to the URL. If you go here, I've got some business GPS. How does that look? Try that again. And it has to be lowercase, business, and uppercase as well. So this is, you'll have the different elements of the GPS as well, to see kind of what do you need and how can you actually put that together. And if you do take it, I'll be sending some additional gifts as well to help you structure it, to give you that roadmap, to outline how do you actually do that, what steps you need to create that roadmap forward as well. So that's all I have. That actually went a lot longer than I was anticipating. I think I talked too much. I try to describe too much. But thank you so much for joining in. Miss Sushi, appreciate the comments. Really, really grateful for you showing up. Please, if you have any questions as well, feel free to ask. There's lots to learn here, and it's a short little session. As I call it, it's the digital strategy sprint as well. So that's about it. So go to bit.ly. I'll put the link in the comments as well, /business GPS. See what kind of, how these different elements might fit together for you, and go from there. So thank you very much for joining me. My name is Doyle Bueller. I appreciate the time that you've taken to watch. Ask some questions, and let's get moving forward. So thank you very much, and we will see you guys online.